Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma Starr, and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. Heart Warriors is a series I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my energetic connection with Kata Judah. Kata Judah is a sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, our sacred feminine site. So, what I'm here to do is to interview 100 men, and today we are up to number 95. Men are giving them a platform so they can share their journey into the heart, their highs, their lows, tools, practices, insights, wisdom, what worked for them that got them out of from their deepest, darkest moment to being the heart warriors that they are today. Today's guest is a man called Davonte Sheard. Now, Davonte is a spiritual mentor, but he's also a sexual alchemy and relationship coach. He's a prolific writer about the divine masculine and the divine feminine in all aspects of connection, communication, and union. So, really excited to be chatting to Davonte and hearing all about his journey into the heart. Enjoy. Hello, Davonte Sheard. How are you today? Where are you in the world?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much, Gemma. I'm currently in Mexico City, Mexico.
Awesome. Right. Well, let's start with you. I like to get to know the man inside. So, when you drop all your external labels, how would you describe the man inside?
I would describe the man inside as the essence of nature.
In what way?
Organic, natural, raw, pure.
Great. I love that. Thank you. I know you talk a lot about the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So I'd like to get your definition of the, let's start with the divine masculine. What's your definition of the divine masculine?
So let's just start off with the word divine first. So divine just means pure. Just like if you had divine love, it would be just pure love. Just nothing is tainted. It's just the pure essence of love. So divine masculinity is the pure essence of masculinity, which means it is 100% masculinity. And what is masculine designed to do? It's designed to provide, protect, and lead. Now, divine masculinity, it provides in the four ways, which is the material, which could be finances, also the protection of the material world. It also provides mentally, which is knowledge, wisdom, direction. It also provides emotionally, which is means it's open to caring about the feminine, is open to nurturing the feminine and seeing what the feminine really desires to feel emotionally complete and understood. And spiritually, it is providing the feminine some spiritual discipline, some spiritual balance, some spiritual grounding so that they can continue to evolve. So when it comes to divine masculinity, that's what I see, a man who is completely embodying the energies of the protector, provider, and leader, 100%.
Yeah, I love that definition. And yeah, I resonate with that too. So let's go to the feminine and get the other side. What are the qualities or the values of the divine feminine?
So once again, the divine is pure. So when we go to femininity, we go to pure femininity. Now, femininity is designed to amplify masculinity. It is designed to be an inspiration to masculinity because masculinity is designed to provide. So the feminine, who is inspiring, desire it amplifies the masculine to be able to provide more. So the feminine is like a battery source. Whatever it plugs itself into, it amplifies. It amplifies the code, the programming of the masculine. So the feminine is naturally nurturing and service, completely selfless. It is caring. It is soft. It is non-competitive. It is cooperative. It is exactly like nature. It goes with the flow. Now, there's something I said recently where the feminine is designed to be in the flow, and we would call feminine energy naturally chaotic. Why? Because it has no order. It's not designed for order. It's designed to just flow, just like the curves in the hips. Now, masculinity is the order, the structure, the rules, the law, the code. So when the femininity desires to have structure in his life, it goes into one of these masculine frames. Now, in the correct masculine frame, it is allowed to thrive and grow. In the wrong, what we call toxic masculine frame, it suppresses the feminine. And that's what scares a lot of women from going into their femininity, because they believe they'll be repressed by following the masculine. So femininity is rooted in trust and masculinity, because only when you trust in the masculine can you really surrender and let go. Can you really feel safe, protected, and provided for? Because only in surrendering can you release what you have and become completely open, and then you're able to receive.
That's a brilliant explanation, probably one of the best I've heard. So thank you so much for that. And I want to get into this a lot deeper as we go into the show, but I'd like to find out what made you into the man you are today. So I always like to start with finding out about a childhood challenge. Growing up, what was your major childhood challenge that you had to overcome?
Well, my major childhood challenge was basically discovering my masculinity, because I already had a certain areas independent nature to me that I wanted to do everything myself. I didn't want to be led. I always wanted to lead. And growing up in a house where there wasn't a masculine already present, my mom, she had to embody that particular masculine essence. So me and her, we would clash, because it's me trying to lead, me trying to make my own decisions, and her, already having the road laid out for me or the path that I should follow. So me and her, we clashed in most of my early teenage years up to my, around 18 and plus. And what happened is I eventually got kicked out because of the clashing or whatnot. And this is when I made my greatest discoveries of who I am and the potential that I have. So I got kicked out and I ended up living at a bus station. And this particular bus station had Wi-Fi, and it had, this bench, this metal bench that I could sleep on. And I had nothing but my laptop and some clothes. And during that particular state, I started researching spirituality, starting to really get in tune with myself, get in tune with what we call the law of attraction. So anyway, during that, once I started doing that, I started awakening myself, and then I, developed something called God strategy, which allowed me to, financially provide for myself, and then be able to teach others that as well. So that then God strategy was purely forex, was purely being able to provide for myself. That then transmuted and branched off into me doing spiritual teachings as well, becoming a spiritual mentor, spirituality helped me discover my sexuality and really enhance that particular side of me. And then that started and led to me being a sexual alchemy coach. And that's where I'm at now, where teaching people how to master their sexual energy to enhance and activate their spirituality.
Yeah, so good. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. I'm really interested in you growing up without a male role model, like mainly your dad, because a lot of women watch this show too. And I also raised two boys as a single mum. So I'm interested in your perspective, first of all, talking to women, how we can, even though mine are older now, but women, what advice have you got to women who find themselves in that role of having to step into their masculine energies to, support, provide, at the same time, nurture and love young boys, sons?
So the advice I would have for single mothers is to never abandon the feminine side, because being a full provider, it automatically puts you into your masculine, because you have to take over the job of the masculine. So it's very difficult in that particular state to attract a masculine provider to be able to do the other half. So in this state, you have to get really in touch with your spirituality, because that is the only thing that will keep you in touch with your femininity, which means you need to be meditating daily. Meditating daily. This is the essence of surrender. Meditation is how you practice surrender. So you need to be surrendering to the universe, letting go and allowing the universe to provide. The universe will become your divine masculine. And if you treat the universe as your divine masculine, then eventually it will concretize and manifest as some physical for you to have a divine masculine provider. So you have to embody that deeper relationship with the universe as your masculine provider in order to maintain in your feminine state, even though you're doing a lot of masculine activities.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm interested in specifically how they relate to their sons. If this masculine other half or provider, as you say, hasn't arrived yet, what's the advice to women doing the best they can raising sons? Like, they do have to be somewhat in their masculine to, be protective and providing for them. But like, what how should they be relating to the boys to do the best they can to raise them?
Yeah, so the woman can't teach a man masculinity. It just isn't possible. So what they need to be around is masculine figures or people you would see as father figures or whatnot. Need to be in some type of community in which, there's a masculine leader and he's teaching people how to cultivate these particular principles within themselves. They can't be tucked off in the house, just seeing the woman lead all the time, because that's going to, make them more feminine, and then they're going to grow up looking for the woman to be the head of the household and the woman to be the masculine leader once again. So they have to see healthy examples of masculine leadership. And that has to be, they have to be enrolled in programs. It can be, Boy Scout, because, that's typically a masculine leader teaching them how to do things or whatnot. So little programs like that have to be very involved in the community in order to get that masculine aspect nurtured inside of them.
Yeah, thank you. And what about young men who were raised by single mothers? And I was interested in you saying they'd probably lean towards looking for a woman who would be provider for the household. So, what can you say to those men who maybe haven't looked into that yet? To bring awareness to it and to maybe advise them to, to be on the, like, is that healthy to look for a female provider? Or what would you say to those men?
I would tell them what I teach in my courses: respect equals love for masculinity. And the only way that you get love as a man or respect as a man is if you earn it, which means that you have to embody your masculine essence. You have to be able to provide, protect, and lead. So if you never do these things, because the feminine receives love through provision, which is being provided for. So if the feminine isn't able to receive her version of love being provided for, she isn't able to give you your version of love, which is respect. And that's what all men really desire in the deep essence. So you can go 50-50 if you're okay with getting 50% respect. But if you want the full respect as a masculine man, you're gonna have to step up and learn how to provide and lead and protect 100%.
Perfect sense. Awesome. Thank you, Davonte. So when you're at your deepest, darkest moment, was that when you were at the bus stop, living at the bus stop as an adult? Was that your lowest point?
Yeah, I would say that was my lowest point. I had some up points and some low points after that, but I wouldn't. They weren't as low as that particular point, because after I made it through that point, it's like mentally, emotionally, I couldn't go any lower than that, because I know that if I can overcome this, then I can overcome anything. So anything that came after that was easier.
So I'd like to explore what you said about, learning about the law of attraction and manifesting abundance without getting into the specifics of marketing anything in particular. What was it that opened your mind that you could manifest money, abundance?
So this is the story that happened. So I was looking for another way to make money, because I don't know if anybody know anything about human design that's tuning in. Basically, it's a system that helps you determine your aura type, etc. And the aura type that I am is a projector, which means I'm not here to work through physical labor. So anyway, I was working as doing physical labor, and it was killing me, and I was looking for a way out. It's like there got to be a simpler way to make money in this particular universe. And I kept that particular belief and vision, even though I didn't know about the law of attraction. And then out of the blue, I happened to be on Instagram scrolling. I seen somebody very young. He had a particular lifestyle that I liked and I would like to have for myself. So, I messaged him and we talked, and he was like, I'll tell you the secret. And I was like, the secret? What do you mean? What kind of secret? And he was like, the law of attraction. So when he told me that was the particular secret, I went and researched it. And then I learned that, it is the feeling of having something before you have it that determines your frequency and that pulls things to you. So after I learned that, I was already in my smiling mode. I was already practicing smiling for 30 minutes behind the scenes so that when I go out, I can maintain this particular frequency. Because a smile is one way to hack the frequency. So even when I got kicked out, I was still smiling, going to the bus station. Going to the bus station every day, I was smiling. I was the happiest, most positive person at the bus station. They was like, how are you so positive? How are you so happy? And basically, you can call it borderline delusion because I already had seen the future and I was already living there while living at the bus station. So technically, my body was at the bus station, but my mind was, living where I wanted to live. So I got to embody those emotions at the bus station, and that's when eventually my body became manifested in the same place that my mind was. So that created that solidity of faith in me, and that's where my company Wealthy 10K Life comes from.
Brilliant story. And yeah, this is great because, everyone, well, most people, especially men, they want to, work on accumulating more money and ultimately happiness. And many see that as the only route to happiness at the moment. What do you see around that? Do you see that manifesting money is the key to abundance, or can we manifest happiness without money?
Well, happiness is an inside job. It's basically about your energetic charge. And I teach this in my sexual alchemy courses. So most people have 10% battery charge, which keeps their consciousness trapped in the root chakra. And the root chakra consciousness, it's the densest consciousness. It's fear, traumas, it's pain, it's, suicidal thoughts if you go a little bit too low on the root chakra side. It's just chaos. And you have to struggle through life. Life is hard because it's a dense frequency, which means you have to push through that frequency. Now, once you begin to charge your battery, build your sexual currency, begin to activate the other chakras, and your consciousness start to vibrate at that particular level. Now, once your consciousness vibrates at the solar plexus chakra, the third chakra, your body produces a chemical called serotonin, which is the happiness chemical. And you start to produce positive emotions, which is the manifestation of the sacred solar plexus chakra. So at this particular level, you can access happiness without having any material item. Therefore, as long as you keep your energetic battery charged, you'll have access to happiness. For instance, let's say you're still vibrating in the root chakra and you manage to chase and capture some money, you'll still feel dead inside. You'll still feel like something is missing, and you'll feel like, okay, the material world isn't everything. Money isn't everything. You'll really realize that you can be happy without money in this particular dimension, yet it takes a lot of inside work. Now, the goal of the root chakra is to make sure you're grounded so that you can focus on the other dimensions. So, yes, having enough money to where you can survive and have your basic necessities to allow you to focus on the inner world and access those dimensions as well is the ultimate key to cultivating happiness. Because you don't want to be this person who just denounces money and says, okay, that's the key to happiness. No, the goal is to include material wealth and spiritual wealth, but realizing that material wealth solely will never make you happy.
Yeah, brilliant explanation. I love this. Well, what order should we go in? I love how you've got such a depth of and beautiful articulation of the chakras. And I also want to get into the sexual alchemy. So are they one and the same that you want to go through, or shall we just start with going up the chakra system and an explanation of each chakra?
Yeah, so yeah, they one and the same. So as you fill up your energetic battery, your sexual currency was what fills up your energetic battery. It also allows you to access higher frequencies and raise your spiritual consciousness. So let's say, for instance, most people's consciousness is trapped in the root chakra. About 95% of human beings live from the root chakra. So at this particular level, things don't come to you. You have to go to them because you haven't activated the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, which is the attraction chakra, the sexual energy chakra. So the sacral chakra generates sexual energy, yet traumas and the consciousness, the frequency of the consciousness, immediately pulls the sexual energy down to the root. And in this particular frequency, you have lust, you have your attraction, you have, just chasing whatever looks shiny, being caught up in just the physical world of things and not the energetic world of things. Once you begin to detach from the material world, because in order to access the chakra higher than that, you have to get a certain level of detachment from the chakra below. So the chakra below the material world, if you're overly focused on just the material world, your consciousness will always stay there. So meditation is what allows you to transcend the particular chakra system. So as you're meditating, you're pulling back from the material world. All thoughts of the material world are completely dropped. Once all thoughts of the material world and worry, doubt, and fear, once all of that is dropped, you then go to the sacral chakra. You then access this creative sexual energy. You begin to charge your battery. You begin to actually feel some type of pleasure and satisfaction in life. You begin to be in tune with your body again and see if this actually feels good for your body or not. Now, once your sacral chakra begins to charge and you access your creativity, this sexual energy can then empower yourself, which is the solar plexus. So it begins to raise up to the solar plexus. And remember, once it reaches the solar plexus chakra, this is when the serotonin is produced. This is when you start to experience positive emotions such as happiness, joy, and peace or whatnot. You feel empowered. You feel confident. This is what charges you up. Now, the first three chakras are about self. It's about filling your own tank. Now, after you've filled yourself up, you feel confident. Now you're ready to pour into others. This is when your sexual energy starts to go to the heart chakra and you just feel called to give. Now you can give altruistically. Altruistically meaning giving without expecting anything in return. So when you're giving from this particular space because you've already filled your cup, you're giving from abundance, you'll feel this deep connection with everything. You'll feel this deep connection with other people because they realize you're not coming to them from lack. You're coming to them from an abundance frequency. I've already generated my own energy. So when it's at love for a while, you've been vibrating here for a while, you get to understand the truth and you get to live the truth. Your sexual energy has been converted to love. Now, the reason you're able to live and express your truth is because when you express your truth, people will start to leave. Okay. The wrong people will start to get away because now you're at an authentic frequency. And since you have access to your own love, you're already powered up the heart chakra. You don't care if they leave because you no longer need them for your source of love. You are your own source of love. You have converted your sexual energy into love. And as you're expressing your truth and living your truth, you start to begin to activate the third eye chakra. Your sexual energy starts to vibrate here. This means you get to create your own reality based upon your own perception. You're no longer living in the matrix that everybody else has lived. You're living from the truth of who you are. And that truth is then manifested and projected onto the matrix, and you living your own reality over top of the collective matrix. After you see that everything is an illusion and you're in your awakened state, you then start to vibrate. Your sexual energy starts to be purified and turned into more spiritual energy in the crown chakra. In this particular essence, you activated bliss. So this particular state, you basically have your own religion. You feel one with everything. You feel one with the floor. You feel one with, you see everything and everyone as yourself. So you wouldn't harm anyone anymore because, if you, just like the hands of your finger, if you harm this finger, the whole hand hurts. So now you can see the whole hand and you can see your connection with everything else. And then you can love everyone as you love yourself. And then you live a life of complete service because now you want the other pieces of yourself to experience what you're experiencing and to feel a deep connection with source and everything else. So yeah, that takes a level of, I would say, first, celibacy. Celibacy is not the end goal, it's not the end all be all, but that is a step to start to fill your cup up. Because most people's sexual energy is very low, their cup is very low. And the minute they generate some sexual energy, they go and release it in a low vibrational way, whether that be watching porn, whether it be having some casual sex, or whatever the case may be. They don't know what to do with the sexual energy because nobody has given us the education of how to maintain and manage the sexual energy.
Amazing. Oh, this is just so good. Such a great, clarification. And, obviously, we can all relate it to our own journey. And it's interesting what you said about the meditation and at what point that came in, because for me, that came in when I started meditating. My creativity came in 4 months after daily meditation. So it corresponds exactly as you were saying. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to have to get into this a bit deeper. You're talking about sexual energy. I mean, there's two ways we can go here. There's the people that are in a union, in relationship, and there's people that are single. So when you're talking about sexual energy, can you relate it to those two paths? And how people can best maintain healthy sexual energy to work through this chakra system.
Okay. So when you're single, yes, this is the best time to really start to cultivate your sexual energy via what I teach, a sexual alchemy ritual. So the sexual alchemy ritual, what it does is it purifies your sexual energy, because first you have to do a sexual detox. Sexual detox to remove your soul ties, to remove all those things that are draining your sexual energy on the other dimensions, so that you can even have enough sexual energy to convert to love and to even love yourself. So the sexual detox is, basically the first part to get rid of all of this, this muck that's on you from your past sexual experiences, etc. After that, we then go into sexual regeneration. Now you can actually regenerate your sexual energy, build your sexual energy, and then we go into sexual transmutation. Sexual transmutation is the process of transmuting lust into bliss from the root chakra to the crown chakra. So celibacy, what it does is, once again, it fills up your cup. But if you have traumatized sexual energy, whatever your sexual energy is programmed to attract, it will attract that on autopilot. So let's say you had sex with a person in the past or whatnot. That person was not the type of person you desired to continue, or long-term marriage, or whatever you wanted to project into the future. Yet that is the code that you're still vibrating with. So you'll just attract the same person over and over again. So that's why I recommend being celibate and doing the sexual alchemy work, which helps change the programming. So you're not only just filling your cup, which attracts more things to you at a faster rate, but now you have different programming of the water. So now you have purified water, which attracts more purified souls. So that is the process that I recommend for singles. Now, if you're in a couple,
Wait,
you can heal and
Davonte, can I just ask questions about the single part, and then we can go on to the how long do you recommend people stay celibate for?
I recommend for a good, I would say, 8 months to a year and a half.
Okay. And does that mean no porn?
Yes, no porn.
Okay. Have you got recommendations, and we're talking specifically to men here, about how they can um, ease their porn addiction?
Yes. So once again, your sexual energy, it's programmed to express itself in certain ways. And the predominant programming is to express it in the root chakra, which is casual sex or porn. So once sexual energy builds up, it turns into lust, and this lust energy drives them to express it in porn or casual sex. Now, in order to help alleviate the porn addiction, you have to get rid of the triggers. Get rid of the triggers. One of the triggers is social media. That's why I say in the post, this 3D matrix was designed and set up to tempt men, because avoiding the temptation levels you up. So you can level up without, avoiding that. So cleaning your social media from any woman that inspires massive lust within you, because you'll be just doing your thing. You may be scrolling, you may be sharing some content, and then you just see this particular image or whatnot. And then your mind remembers what happens when you see that image. Then you may say that one image may trigger you to go click another one, then go watch a video, then eventually you're watching porn. So you have to catch the cue right then and there. So deleting that particular lustful content, or only going on your page and posting what you need to post, and then getting off, not browsing or whatnot and doing that, not unintentionally using social media. The second thing I recommend is browsers on the internet. Have porn blockers, extensions or whatnot. So even if you get an urge or whatnot, you go and type it and you realize, oh, wow, I can't really go. And then there's a certain difficulty in deleting the browser. So by the time you delete it, you're like, oh, I don't really even want to do this no more. So put in a lot of barriers and resistance towards accessing that particular addiction. First, get rid of the cues, which is deleting all the stuff that might inspire it. And then you put up blockers, to stop and prevent you from doing that thing. The third thing is what I would also delete is going to bars or strip clubs, because these are particular areas where your mind is automatically set to look for hookups or to consume alcohol, and that particular substance changes your consciousness temporarily and allows you to get hacked, and then you begin to think more sexual, and then things go from there. So you have to keep a sober mind in order to avoid the influences, because you're easy to be influenced by your lower self when you're under certain influences. So yes, those are the three things I recommend. Once again, there are removing all lustful content from your page, or people who post lustful content and inspire lust in you. Second thing, get a porn blocker on extensions. You can go Google Chrome or download porn blocking apps or whatnot as well on your phone. The third thing I recommend is avoiding bars and strip clubs, because those places inspire you to do things and get under certain influences that make it easier for your mind to indulge in those lustful activities.
Yeah, brilliant advice. So good, so good. So, you're recommending everyone has this period of celibacy to cleanse and purify and to, get off porn and hookup culture. Is there anything else that relating to celibacy for men and for women that is worth speaking of while we're at it?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend doing those three things. I can't think of anything else specifically that would enhance what I said. Those three things alone are very powerful.
Yeah, great, awesome. So let's move on to the relationship now. I know, I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier, but I didn't. I did want to focus on that celibacy piece. So we did the single path, and now we're talking about a relationship path to cultivate healthy sexual energy.
Yes. So the relationship path, you have to explain to your partner, you have to have two people who are understanding and who are intended to grow. It really is difficult when one person just awakens and then tries to awaken the other, etc. It is when two mutually people saying, I intend to grow. So we ever have a relationship that came together based upon mutual intentions to grow. So in this particular union, they can then what we call practice what is known as tantric sex or whatnot. This is a very prolonged spiritual form of sex or whatnot, and that develops that deeper connection. And since love is present, typically love is present between both partners because that's what's needed to allow the energy, the sexual energy to rise or whatnot. So during this particular process, they can actually heal together. They can remove their traumas. They can actually cultivate sexual energy instead of depleting it. In this particular instance, the male needs to learn how to separate orgasm from ejaculation, because every time the male ejaculates, he becomes more feminine by default because his masculine essence, all of his testosterone, etc., is stored in his sperm. So he needs to learn how to separate the two, which will allow him to have an orgasm without ejaculating, etc. And this will allow him to cultivate that connection, cultivate that energy, never really lose that attraction, never really lose that polarity within that relationship. And as long as they keep cultivating, they can reach greater heights together than either one could reach alone. So when they're in that particular union, I recommend both of them doing it. But typically, the scenario happens where one person learns, one person just thinks sex is sex or whatnot, and they don't know that it can heal you and raise your frequency. So one partner may have to, do it alone for themselves for a period of time and go through a period of celibacy. And this is why I teach them whether your relationship is grounded in higher frequencies or not, because if this particular process causes y'all to become more separate and disconnected from each other, then yes, that relationship was keeping you from spiritually evolving. Yet if that partner understands, you're on your journey and they're patient with you and you're cultivating yourself, and then they get inspired because they see your growth to start to cultivate themselves, then yes, that particular relationship has the potential to, elevate as well. Yet once again, that is more so on the rare side.
Yeah, so good, so good. All right, so let's talk about men and what you said about separating orgasm from ejaculation. What have you got to say around that? Maybe, for men and women who are new to this idea.
Yeah, so this type of way of looking at sex is about cultivating energy rather than releasing and get a temporary dopamine hit or whatnot. So this is not about, trying to release all of that's within me so I can feel relieved, because this is about being able to handle energy at greater intensities without folding. This will actually allow you to be more responsible with the feminine as well, because if you're responsible with your sexual energy, which essentially is feminine energy, the more you can hold of that, the more you can be responsible with that, the more the feminine will feel safe and want to surrender to you because she sees you know how to handle energy, and everything is just energy. So this will overflow into all areas of your life when you begin to start to cultivate and build this particular energy. In the beginning, your mind will go against it because as soon as you get a little bit of energy, you're depleting it because you can't handle it. You can't handle what level of consciousness you have or how activated you are with this, and you don't know where to channel this particular energy. So yes, once you learn to separate the two or whatnot, this is when that process really starts to become activated. This is when you really start to activate the God within you, the divine within you. Because as long as you're ejaculating and depleting yourself or whatnot, your consciousness, which once again is controlled by the amount of spiritual or sexual currency you have, it can never raise above a certain level. And this is why a majority of people are stuck in the root chakra, because they haven't learned how to do this one process.
Okay. Wow. So how do men learn to do that? What's the actual physical process?
So this particular process is reserved for the sexual alchemy course that I actually released for the divine masculines in that particular session, because giving out that particular information without a price, they don't value it as much, and they can say, oh, it's just mumbo jumbo. But for people who actually invest, they're actually are the ones who are going to put in that work and do the process.
Okay, I can respect that. Thank you. All right, let's go into what you were saying about the Tantra. Are there some basic tantric practices that you are able to share that couples can start experimenting with energy and sexuality?
Yes. So one of them is simply breathing, because breath helps generate energy in the body, helps you connect to that fire energy within, that kundalini within, that transformational energy within. So the exercise you can do is literally synchronized breathing. So you would either the woman would sit in the man's lap facing him, or you can sit across from each other. It doesn't have to be that intimate or whatnot. And you simply would inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And you want to eye gaze while you're doing this. You want to look into the soul. So you're connecting at that deep level, because a lot of people don't like you to look in the eyes for too long without them being comfortable, because you feel like your soul is being exposed. You feel like they're really seeing the real you. And not a lot of people are vulnerable enough to allow other people to see the real us. So this particular process automatically helps alleviate some of that fear, some of that disconnection. You'll see that as you're doing this, wow, I never really did this. It feels weird, but the more you do it, it feels good. It's like, well, I can really just look at this person. I can really just be one with this person. This person is allowing me to see, and I appreciate that. And then while you're doing that particular process of breathing, let's say you did it for about 10 minutes, you're synchronized now. You can then put your right hand over their heart. This is your sending, your masculine hand. And they put their right hand over your heart. And you say the words, I love you, I am here for you, and I appreciate you. Because everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants somebody to be there for them, and everybody wants to be appreciated. So this automatically starts you off on that very deep, intimate connection, knowing that I am here for you, and I am in this moment with you. I love you, and I appreciate you. So that can already start to cultivate a deeper level of intimacy than just the shallow version of just focusing on the body. It's saying, now I want to connect with your soul. Now I want to connect with the being, the energy behind the body, instead of us just connecting with the body.
Yeah, so good. Um, so as you said, most people is still in the base chakra, root chakra, see sex just as a physical expression, a release, as you said. What are the advantages once we work up the chakra system energetically? Once we get out of the physicality of sexual relationship, what else comes with that?
So what comes with it is clarity, peace of mind. What comes with it is feeling empowered, because now you know your sexual energy creates the world around you, and you're more responsible with it, and you can create the reality you desire. What comes from it is safety, security, because now that you're no longer vibrating in the root chakra anymore, security is already taken care of. So You're vibrating higher than that. Anything you vibrate higher, the lower chakras are automatically taken care of. So once you begin to cultivate that particular sexual energy, once you begin to see sex differently, you then attract higher quality partners. That's another benefit. You attract people who don't just see sex as sex anymore because you no longer just see sex as sex. You also feel more in tune with yourself. Your sensitivity increases because the more sexual energy you have in you, the more you're able to feel. Sensitivity is just the ability to feel life. And this is why when you're dead, you don't feel anything. So this sexual energy increases that sensitivity. Increasing that sensitivity, you're able to experience life more, you're able to feel life more, you're able to feel things deeper, you're able to experience life at a deeper level. So it's like from going from 360p or 720p to experiencing life in 4K.
Right, got it. So I'm interested in now, I don't know what term you prefer, divine union, conscious relationships. When people are more aware and conscious and they're getting into union now, they've had their celibacy, what would you say is the main purpose of these higher conscious relationships?
The main purpose of these higher conscious relationships is simply to be an example for other relationships to raise up to a higher frequency. Because whatever frequency you create from is the frequency that gets reproduced into the world. The reproductive system, you're just reproducing your frequency. So if you're an example of this divine particular relationship or this divine frequency, it inspires people to know that this is possible, that this is something I can aim for, and that when I do have babies from this frequency, they'll automatically have a different experience and they'll have different examples. So they'll behave differently. And thus, when they go to reproduce their frequency, they'll reproduce more of these type of frequencies. And thus, we'll have divine relationships as a default setting. It will be natural. So you reaching that is ultimately a selfless thing. It's ultimately a thing to be an inspiration to other people to reach that. And once you reach that, then of course other people are going to reach it. Then once they reach it, other people are going to reach it. So it's just like a ripple effect.
What about using a relationship for two personal spiritual growth paths?
Okay. So using relationship as a personal spiritual growth path, that your relationship can enhance whatever you are. And that's what it's designed to do. Because a relationship, it has that complete, one person is able to completely embody one side while you are able to completely embody the other side. And this is where growth happens. Growth happens in polarity. When you have the masculine and feminine comes together, it creates balance. And balance is green. Balance is what nature, the frequency nature is in. That's why everything grows out of balance. So if you have chaos, nothing can grow. So this brings that particular balance, and this allows you to grow materially. This allows you to grow spiritually, whatever it is. Your relationship will be the fuel for that if it is aligned spiritually. So relationships are the ultimate tool to expanding you beyond anything that you can expand and do by yourself.
Yeah, I love that explanation too, because I mean, it's my understanding, just my personal perspective, that there's only so much growth you can do alone. You can be celibate, you can, do, but you can't sit in a cave and meditate, as a solo journey for so long without actually putting it into practice, right? So, what do you say to
Exactly.
people who are at that stage but don't have that divine partner yet?
So people who are at that stage but don't have a divine partner,
Yeah.
I would say, do you want a divine partner? Oh, that's what I would ask. Because a lot of people, once they reach that stage, they may say, I don't really want a divine partner. I'm okay with life just being where I am. So, if you desire a divine partner, then yes, it's a matter of telling the universe, this is what I desire. It's a matter of, putting energy towards that particular outcome. It's not, the thing just really doesn't fall into your lap, what I say. So relationships are work. And a lot of people think, oh wow, it's gonna be waiting for me at the finish line. I'm gonna pop it in my mouth like cotton candy. No, there's a route and a certain, frequency and things that you take if you're looking to get into that relationship route with the spirituality. So you ask yourself, do I actually desire a relationship now that I'm at this stage in my life? And okay, now that I desire a relationship, there's something different I must do. Because if the way I was being would align me with a relationship, it would have aligned with a relationship by now. Because we have people with 10, 20 years celibate and whatnot. And if that was the way to get your divine relationship, it would have manifested by now.
Right. So good. Oh gosh, I had a good question. So many questions that I'm trying to listen to all this amazing information. It'll come back. Oh yeah, what are your thoughts around do we reincarnate with soul agreements to meet certain divine counterparts, or do we, like, what's your perspective around soulmates, twin flames, soul agreements, all that aspect of it?
Yeah, so we do have certain soul track contracts, and we have certain people that we have been here with before. We have certain karmic lessons we're here to embody as well. So we come here and we kind of learn our lessons through relationships. And the reason it's set up through that, because most people wouldn't learn the lesson unless they had the mirror in front of them, which is a reflection of somebody else. So you then attract your relationships over and over again, your karmic relationships over and over again, because they're here to teach you one lesson: how to love yourself. And then once you love yourself and you raise your standards of treatment, because people are only going to treat you how you treat yourself, and you start to love yourself, then you start to attract those different people who are able to love you as deeply as you loved yourself. But once again, most people have not penetrated to a deeper level of love that they believe that they deserve. They haven't given themselves that type of love that they want from another. So the soul contract, these are basically things that we came here and we said we're going to do a work. And this person is going to come into my life to wake me up, to make me realize this truth that I need to do more work. Now, people often ask about the twin flame or whatnot. And I made a post about this. The twin flame is the new toxic relationship, the term for the toxic relationship, because this is what spiritual people get into a relationship and they'll say, well, it's my twin flame, so it doesn't matter, he's running from me, it doesn't matter, he's not interested in me or whatnot, he's my twin flame, I just got to chase or whatnot, or he ignores me, he neglects me or whatnot. And I always tell them, what's for you will not run from you. This is the misconception. What's for you won't run from you. It will actually be attracted towards you. So the twin flame, what I teach people, so they can get out of the illusion of searching for everything outside of themselves, is your twin flame is inside of you. Your twin flame is your higher self, and it's waiting for you to go and take that inner journey to connect with it, so that you can then ignite your own flame of truth and live your own truth. You then attract somebody who has done that same inner journey, who has ignited their flame. And this is what you can call a twin flame. But once again, that twin flame is something that is ignited within yourself. You're connected to this higher version of yourself, and you won't let nothing get in the way of this relationship. You won't let nothing interfere with this relationship. In fact, the higher self will burn everything else up that is not aligned with your true self. And all you have to do is surrender to it.
Yeah, I love that explanation. And yeah, pretty much exactly what the conclusions that I've come to on my own journey as well, because I write a lot about the masculine, feminine, and divine love as well. So, okay, what else? Because you're so full of wisdom and amazing information and knowledge, Davonte, what else needs to be brought into this conversation from your understanding of men, women, relating, sex, love? What else do we need to talk about?
Yeah, so what needs to be removed the most is fear. So the main blockage from, creating divine relationships, from having anything that you desire in your life, is fear. It's fear that if I let go, if I surrender, I'm going to get hurt. And you see a lot of people don't want to even meditate because they have fear that they're doing something wrong, or fear of a demon is going to possess them, or whatever the case may be. So it is this fear frequency that is basically repelling everything. It's the fear the feminine has of the masculine. It says, if I surrender to the masculine completely, then I'm going to get hurt. If I surrender to the guidance, if I surrender to the leadership, if I stop trying to take control and take charge, then I'm going to get hurt. And the masculine has the fear, if I provide fully for this particular being right here, then they're going to take advantage of me. You know, everybody just wants to take advantage of me or whatnot. And this all comes from, once again, fear. Fear keeps you focused on the negative possibilities of things. Then your body lives as if that negative possibility is already true. And then you continue to act in ways that will continue to attract that particular reality. So first, this is about removing the fear and removing the traumas that keep you locked in the fear. And that is ultimately what the sexual alchemy process is about. Because once you start to, you know, perform the rituals or whatnot and detox yourself or whatnot, then these fears will start to alleviate because you'll become more and more open. You'll become more and more relaxed and you'll start to let go. And letting go is the secret to receiving. The deeper you let go, the more you can receive. So that is what I will have to share for this particular session. Don't let fear stop you. Don't let fear get in your way. Don't let fear create a negative scenario that doesn't exist and keep you from creating the life you deserve.
Yeah, so true. Now, there's a lot of men who, on the surface, feel they have a right to be fearful. Maybe they've been through relationships where they've lost everything financially, emotionally, their children, maybe their reputation. They've lost a hell of a lot that, they built up over how many years. What do you say to those men? I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, yes, let's take fear out of the equation. But what practical advice have you got for those men?
I would say it's just a bad investment. That's all I would say. I would say it's a bad investment. If you have a business and your business fails one time, it doesn't mean stop doing business. But this is how we are. We're very fragile now. So when one thing happens where we overlay it onto everything into the future because of that trauma is distorting us. Oh wow, I got hurt once, so I'm not going to do this again because I'll get hurt in the future. In order to become or attract true love within yourself and outside of yourself, you have to be willing to get your heart broken so many times till it becomes open because most people's heart hasn't been broken enough to crack open. So you have to keep falling forward. You have to keep failing. And enough failures, you'll reach a success. It's the same thing within business. It's the same thing within relationship. And once again, it is that fear of failure. Fear, if I do this again, I'm going to get hurt again. Well, you need to treat each relationship as a different investment and invest completely. Because if you come in with the scared energy, if you come in with that traumatized energy, then you're not gonna receive the love you desire in a relationship. The relationship is going to play out the same way in the past because you're acting the same way in the past and you're closing down or whatnot. So they're closing down. So now you have this closed relationship. So once again, it is about realizing that life happens. It is about realizing that just because you got hurt in the past doesn't mean that you'll continue to get hurt in the future. And to look towards the hurt as well. Don't run away from the hurt. Go towards the hurt because that is where the wisdom comes from. That is where the lessons come from. And when you're taking a loss, to look at the loss, to look at the lesson, because you're taking an L either way. So you look at your relationships as growing mechanisms. Wow, this relationship didn't work, but what could I learn to become better for the next relationship? Not what could I do to give less to the next relationship, but what could I do to become a better person? So that means no matter if the relationship hurts you or breaks you, whatever the case it does, you became a better person for your next partner. So you're letting each relationship cultivate you to become more prepared for your divine partner.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of I know when I also believe that partners are mirrors, and when we're at the lower frequency, we attract someone that reflects that back to us, and as we work up, we attract a better quality of partner that aligns with the frequency we're on. And every time I've written about that, there's always someone that likes to comment and says, oh, but that's not always the case, as, they see themselves as they were here to help or heal someone of a lower frequency. Is this mirror always the case, or is there some cases that a high frequency person might be with a low frequency person?
So this is typically how it works. You either attract people on your frequency or seeking to have your frequency. And the issue becomes is when we attract those people that need healing, we end up turning them into relationship partners. Well, before they have even healed, before we have even applied the knowledge. And now they're in a relationship. And once you have sex, they see, okay, wow, you had sex with me. Now you've matched their frequency. And if this person had a higher frequency than me, they wouldn't have had sex with me. So now all your attempts to try to raise their frequency and convert them and do all this is left in vain because they've had access to your sexual energy without even having to do the work. So you do attract people to your particular frequency who has the same frequency or who desires to match it. Now, if you have a higher frequency, most of the people you attract are going to be the people you need to heal. So you're going to have to practice sexual discipline. There's going to be chemistry. There's always the chemistry between the student and the teacher. There's always a chemistry. You feel fulfilled. You feel connected because they're receiving your energy, because you're able to teach and they're able to get something from you, and they're excited. They make you feel valuable. They make you feel worthy and things of this nature. So we as humans, we think, oh wow, relationship, oh wow, sex, and then once again, that's create those type of relationships in which we're like, dang, I'm at a high frequency. Why do I keep attracting these people that are on these particular frequencies? So once again, not everybody that comes to you, you're designed to have sex and form a relationship with.
Yeah, fascinating. Great explanation. Thank you. So, where does chemistry come into it? Is that always a case of polarity? And, at the beginning, we were discussing that polarity is healthy, the masculine and feminine. And, but now, where is that chemistry for you? Is that the same thing?
Well, chemistry is essentially the attraction. It's based upon the body. It's based upon, wow, you have a desirable preference of sexuality of that I would like to tap into or whatnot. So it is very basic, the physical attraction. You can have multiple physical chemistries with thousands of people, but that soul level connection is very rare. And in order for the soul level connection to really happen, it takes time, because even though we may say there's love at first sight, I always say it's lust at first sight, and it can overpower the mind and make it generate similar chemicals to the chemicals of sex. I mean, to the chemicals of love or whatnot. So you can confuse the two. But that initial phase, what I call the honeymoon phase or the infatuation phase, you have to allow that phase to play out and to be sober with it and not engage in sex with it. Because once you realize the real person, the real them, after the illusion has passed, then you see that you're not really compatible. So the more you love something, the more you take your time with it and cultivate it, because love is slow, lust is fast. But the connection or the chemistry or the lust is always most intense in the beginning. It fades as the relationship goes by. But then that relationship is now maintained by higher frequencies of connection, of love, of truth, of spirituality, etc.
Yeah, so good. Let's expand on this. I love what you said about, if it's a soul connection, does it always go slowly? How do people, I'm interested in now that to get some feedback for you that the listeners can know when they meet someone, if it's a soul connection of a high frequency that needs to be waited for and on the slow burner, or is it a relationship that maybe is of opposing or non-aligned frequencies?
Yes, great question. So essentially, how to weed out the two is time. So any relationship that's pressuring you to act quicker than what you feel accustomed to acting, you already know that that relationship has more lower intentions. The quicker it leads to sex, typically the lower frequency it is. For instance, you go to the bar, you're going for hookups. You already know that those are very low frequency connections. You can try to turn into something spiritual, whatnot. It's going to be very difficult. Or you can be on your purpose. Typically, the frequency you meet people at, or the thing you're doing when you meet people, will determine the connection or the quality of that relationship. If you're on your divine purpose, let's say you're teaching, you're leading, you're guiding, or whatnot, you happen to meet somebody doing what you love, etc., that particular frequency is higher. That particular connection has the potential to be higher grounded than the frequencies of just lust and attraction. But once again, you still have to wait out the wave so you can see the real them. So you can see if there's a connection just beyond this physical lust that we have. Because lust is not bad. You just don't want to use it to base your decisions on whether you should have sex with somebody or whether you should pursue a relationship with somebody.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Um, and I jotted down trust because going back to where we were talking about men and fear of getting into relationships, we spoke about, losing financially and, them now letting that go and having a new investment. But what about trust? I'm interested in, should we go into every new relationship fully open and trusting, or should trust be earned?
So the first form of trust that's need to be developed is in yourself. If you trust in yourself, then you'll know what to invest in. For instance, let's say you have a person that comes to you, and as the masculine, you've accumulated your resources. Something inside you says, I just want to provide for this woman completely. I just want to make this woman's life the best life that it can be. I just want to alleviate her stress, her worries. I just want to really pour into this particular woman. And I trust in myself that if I'm doing this, I'm doing the right thing and I will be rewarded. So we have to trust in ourselves and spirituality that as long as we're investing, as long as we're, putting our heart out there and doing the right thing, that we'll receive positive karma in exchange for that. And the woman, when it comes to trusting, if she sees a man and she's like, wow, I want to follow what he's doing completely. Everything that he's saying, everything that he's giving out, I trust it. I love it. I embody or practice some of the teachings and it brought some goodness to my life, or I applied some of the techniques, whatever, to my life and it made my life better. I trust in this particular man completely. And I trust that this man is aligned with the spirit. I trust that this man is divinely aligned. So in essence, when you trust somebody, you're just trying to trust in the spirit version of them. You're trusting in the Most High by trusting in them. So she trusts that she's being led by the spirit through the masculine. And he trusts that the spirit wants him to provide for this particular feminine. So that creates this ultimate giving, because you can't really give completely if you don't trust. You're always going to be like, but when you trust completely, you're like, here you go. And both parties are like, here you go. And that's what creates that 100% balanced divine union.
Yeah, because there's other things around trust apart from, being able to provide financially. There's, trusting will be emotionally cared for, or, all the other aspects. If you're in monogamy, it's, trusting that they're not going to cheat on you. So does that all tie into the same level of trust? What you just said about, providing materialistically?
Yeah, so not just materialistically, it's about when I say I want to provide for her, it's not just I want to provide for her materially. Once again, it's providing in the four ways. That's what I consider divine masculinity. It's providing materially, it's providing mentally. I want to teach this woman, I want to enhance this woman. It is providing emotionally, I care for this woman. I want to be a safe space, to provide a safe space for her to express her emotions and really let things that are inside of her outside of her, so she doesn't have to hold them in and deal with them herself all alone anymore. And in spirituality, I want to provide spiritually, or I want to give her a spiritual practice. I want to give her some type of spiritual grounding, or us to do spiritual things together. So in this particular instance, it says, I trust that it's good to do this. So we never can know for sure. Uncertainty is a part of life. And if we're trying to alleviate uncertainty before we invest, then we'll never invest. Or we'll never invest fully, which means we'll never get a full return on investment. So in this life, there's no guarantees. So if you go into the mindset with saying, okay, wow, I'm gonna trust 10% or whatnot, that would mean that you're not even designed to get in that relationship. Because unless you can go into a relationship with 100% trust, it won't really work out.
Great clarity. Thank you, Davonte. Um, Freedom. What does freedom mean to you as an individual and in a conscious union?
So freedom means the ability to be oneself and expand. So the ability to grow into more of your divine self. So in a divine union, the masculine enhances the feminine's freedom. By the feminine following the masculine, she becomes more vibrant, she becomes more healthy. Her lifestyle is essentially funded, and she gets to do more of those things without the stress of having to handle the masculine side as well. So the feminine that follows the correct masculine will have their femininity enhanced. The masculine feels enhanced as well because he has also more freedom to do other things. There's certain things he doesn't have to worry about anymore because the feminine is there taken care of. So in that particular instance, he has more freedom to focus more on masculinity. The feminine has more freedom to focus more on femininity, to relax, to create, to nurture, to play, to be a child again. The masculine is like the wise father. It's has some rules and boundaries to allow the feminine to play in, but in those rules and boundaries, the feminine expands, just like a pot. You put a plant in, that's the structure, but this pot allows the feminine plant to expand with the safe boundaries. So that is what I see freedom. I don't see a divine union as saying, as taking the plant and squishing the plant or pulling all the flowers off the plant and saying, you just be submissive and got to deal with what I'm dealing with, and you have no more freedom. If the masculine is suppressing freedom or whatnot, then I would say that's not the correct masculine to follow. But if it is expanding freedom, then I would say it is. In the same way with the feminine, uh, if that particular union is taken away from the masculine and making the masculine feel not respected or whatnot, because respect is what powers up the masculine to be able to expand more, things of that nature. Now I would say yes, that's most likely the wrong feminine that you're investing in.
I love your analogy of the plant pot because, of course, the plant pot encases the roots and keeps the feminine grounded, while at the same time allows her to move and blossom and bloom and grow while keeping her grounded. A beautiful analogy. I love it so much. I wanted to get back. I love what you said about what when we're talking about trust, what the man needs to do to trust. What about the women? What do we have to do for a man to be able to trust us? What does a man need from a woman?
So a man needs respect, a man needs consideration, and a man needs appreciation. So these three are three main ingredients that will make the masculine trust you. Respect says, okay, before I do something, I'm going to check in with you because I value your opinion and I value your leadership. And I don't want to do anything that goes against your leadership or disrespects your image or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to check in with you. And this checking in process makes the masculine trust the feminine even more because it says, wow, the feminine knows not to be just chaotic and all over the place anymore. It knows that I'm the leader and it submits and surrenders to the leadership by coming to me and checking in and seeing if I approve that or not. And consideration, every time you're out, the feminine is representing the masculine. They're seeing how well the masculine is able to provide, protect, and lead. So as you're out, you're considering how will the masculine look if I do this particular thing? Does this bring shame? Does this bring lower frequencies into the masculine's life? Or does this bring more higher vibrational positive frequencies into the masculine's life? Because it requires a selfless aspect of the feminine to always be considering the masculine and how the masculine would view this or whatnot. It's just like a father in the house, if you're going out there and doing some things that bring shame to the father, it's going to make the father, a little angry and not really trust you as much to be able to do things on your own, etc., and kind of want to stop providing, protecting, and leading from you. And the last thing is gratitude or appreciation. When the masculine provides, you appreciate. That fuels up the masculine and to make you want to provide more. So as long as you're providing appreciation for a rock, the masculine is going to be inspired to try to give you a mountain. So it's going to feel, it trusts you. It trusts that, okay, you appreciate everything I have. So I can give you more. I trust that it's good to give you more. I trust this is the right place to give it to.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it, love it. What are your thoughts around monogamy and polyamory?
So I made a post that says polygamy can't really work until lust is mastered. Because when I say lust is mastered, this is keeps everybody in the root chakra, and everybody's just doing polygamy for sexual reasons, and that creates the jealousy, that creates this massive sexual appetite where the masculine is just able to do whatever he wants to do in the name of saying it's just polygamy or whatnot. So it has to be a sacred union, an exclusive union between the masculine and the feminines, where no outside energy can really get in. Everybody has to be on one page or whatnot, doing the same particular practices so they can stay on the same frequency. So I also say polygamy can only be mastered once monogamy has been mastered. So it's very difficult to try to manage two people and be tapped into them and stay on the same frequency and keep everybody satisfied if you can't satisfy one. But most of the polygamous people, they are really just bypassing the ability to or the necessity to have to master lust and saying, I'm gonna just go for the maximum or whatnot, so I don't have to cheat. Once you master lust, you realize, okay, there's stuff out there that looks good, but not everything that out there that looks good. You don't need it. And this is my personal views when it comes to monogamy and polygamy, is that essentially polygamists are looking for quality or whatnot. Yet they don't believe that one particular woman has this particular quality, so they can spread their, eggs thin. I guess that's how you say it. They can spread their eggs in different baskets or whatever the case may be, or whatnot, to make up for that quality. But I believe the man that's truly activated his divine masculine will not really desire that, because he will then attract to him a higher quality woman, and this high quality woman will make up for 9 different women. So that's my personal view on when it comes to monogamy and polygamy. Polygamy can be maintained if it is, grounded in higher frequencies, and people know how to master their lust, and they're not bringing outside energies that taint the energy or whatnot. And there's a sacred divine union in all of them, and all of them are on the same page.
Yeah, fascinating. Thank you. And I'm interested in the energetic side. I mean, once a man and a woman come into this higher conscious divine union and they're, alchemizing sexually and they're growing, what what does it do if you energetically take that sexual energy into another person and have another sexual alchemy? How does that work? Does that then come into the original one? Like, does it help or hinder? How does that play out in the energetic field?
Well, if you're just taking them in at the frequency they are, then yes, it brings you both down to that particular person's frequency or whatnot. You absorb all their traumas, their karma, their demons, etc., or whatnot. Yet, this is why I say the polygamy can only be maintained if you have mastered monogamy. So if you and your partner have cultivated this connection and you have risen your frequencies and you have embodied the teachings, you then attract somebody who maybe, once again, those people are looking to raise to your frequency or whatnot. And you don't engage in sex with them because you mastered lust. All right. So you don't engage with sex with them, you cultivate them, they do their teachings and they match to your particular frequency or whatnot, and they have a deep connection with all three of y'all. Then you can invite them into that union, and it will amplify the union because it's just more energy. So it is, like the two, instead it is three powering up one particular intention. So everybody is still focused on that same thing. But once again, that takes a lot of mastery, and that's what most people aren't going willing to go through that process. So it's best to just them to stick to monogamy.
Brilliant. Thank you. Let's get on to men and purpose and mission. What can you say to men who haven't found what they feel to be their purpose or mission in life yet?
I would say they're disconnected from themselves and they need to connect to themselves more. They need to cut out all the distractions, because there's no such thing as finding your purpose. You are your purpose. The purpose is encoded into everyone. And once you sit still long enough, that purpose begins to manifest. It begins to blossom just like a flower. It is like a rose that's bottled up, that's curled up, saying, "Where's my petals? Where's my petals? Can somebody teach me where's my petals?" No, you just sit there and you allow nature to blossom for you. So they are just looking for their purpose everywhere else in the material world instead of going within and allowing their purpose to blossom. The more you connect with yourself, the more you'll start to live your purpose because you ultimately are your purpose.
Brilliant. Love it. What's your highest value as a man, Davonte?
My highest value as a man will have to be spirituality.
Hmm. And what's your,
And
sorry, go on, please.
yeah, that was just happened to be, it's coded that way because of my Pisces is in my Venus and that rules values. So I value at the utmost spirituality.
What's Venus got to, how does Venus play into it?
So Venus is a particular planet. If you're into astrology, you may be aware. Venus is a particular planet that governs love, pleasure, values, and relationships. So the planet that is in your particular Venus sign will show what you value most. So this is your highest priority. For instance, somebody with Venus in Virgo will value order or value perfection the most. That will be their highest value, perfection and order. As long as they have in these things, they feel love and they experience pleasure from order. With me, I experience pleasure from spirituality. So it keeps me aligned, where most people, they may not have Venus and Pisces, so spirituality, they may not get much pleasure from it or value it as much.
Yeah. So we'll start wrapping up, Davonte. This has just been just full on brilliant information, but I want to make sure we haven't missed anything that maybe you can still, contribute to the light that you're offering here. What haven't I touched on? What else can you bring in that, needs to be said around men and masculinity?
So yeah, men and masculinity, I would say the dynamic now is set up to essentially attack masculinity. Anybody who's embodying masculinity can be called toxic. It's a lot of responsibility, but you can't fear responsibility because that is a part of the masculine to be responsible for the feminines because we have a task at hand or whatnot. So just get comfortable being under pressure, get comfortable with the unknown, get comfortable trusting in yourself, get comfortable uh, trying new things, get comfortable learning and just expanding overall. Because the only reason the masculine exists is to serve the feminine. And this is what I teach in my divine masculine and divine feminine. We're created by the feminine, came out the yoni portal, and we're here to serve the feminine by protecting, providing, and leading so the feminine can continue to create high vibrational creations on this earth. So once you step into that particular role and embody that mindset, then you will see that life gets easier because more people will respect you, which means you'll have more love within yourself and love from the outside world. And you'll see that this entire world will want to surrender to you.
Yeah. I just had another question that popped up as I was having a discussion in a previous interview with divine union. Do you see it as two halves coming together or two wholes overlapping in the Vesica Pisces?
I see it as two wholes coming together in the vesica Pisces. Now, halves coming together is 50% full, 50% full. And now, since they haven't filled up their own cup, they're going to be trying to take from the other person instead of give from the other person. So this is a relationship based on lack. It must come with two full cups so that any extra is overflowed onto the relationship. This is a relationship based off abundance. So you don't want to look for somebody to complete you or whatnot. You complete yourself and then you attract somebody who's completed themselves and you come together and you create this ultimate completion and you live in this ultimate completion.
Yes, great explanation. What else was I going to say? There's something I want to say. Oh, I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Gosh. Okay. All right. What else? Is there anything else that we say before I ask you where people can find you? What are you up to these days?
Well, these days, I'm really up to cultivating the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So right now, I have a divine masculine group in which I'm educating the masculines to really turn online their full masculine divine potential. I also have the divine feminine group. These are private Facebook groups as well. And what I'm doing is cultivating the divine feminine, so activating and teaching the feminine to activate her highest potential. In the future, what I plan on doing is once enough people have embodied the teachings for a certain period of time to merge the two and to have some divine unions come out of that. So that is my main project I'm focused on. I also am hosting sexual alchemy retreats. I actually have a video coming soon of the one I just did or whatnot, so you'll be able to see or whatnot. So there you learn the sexual alchemy teachings in person as well. You get to have guidance as far as the cultivation techniques as well. You get to experience some fun activities, eat some high vibrational food, etc. So that's a excellent experience, and you get to ask me questions upon questions upon questions the entire time. So yeah, that's the main things that I'm working on right now. Just getting everybody to their divine feminine and divine masculine state. Now, where you can find me, mainly I'm very active on Facebook. So you just find me, type in Davonte Sheard. You will find a lot of my teachings, a lot of my posts or whatnot. If you really want to tune into my stories, if you're okay with being triggered, because my purpose is to trigger people into elevation or expansion or whatnot. You can find me on Instagram as well. I post in the story as well. I just actually created a new wisdom page called Davonte Sheard Wisdom on Instagram, where I'm sharing these meme style posts. You can also find me on my website if you would like spiritual coaching, you would like any financial coaching and forex, you would like sexual alchemy coaching, or you would like to join the divine feminine, divine masculine group. You can find that at www.wealthy10klife.com.
Great, and we'll put all those links below. I remembered the question, and I've asked this to many men because I like to get your perspective. With the polarity spectrum of masculine femininity, is there a point that is healthy masculinity, or is each man like authentically at a different place? How does a man know where he should be on the spectrum?
Okay. So healthy masculinity, it produces healthy results. So healthy masculinity, those beings who are under your care, those beings who are following you, those beings who are being guided by you, they're actually expanding. They're actually growing. They're actually, their satisfaction in life is increasing or whatnot, and they're producing positive results. The unhealthy masculine, people who are following or surrendering to this type of masculine, is being suppressed. Their frequency is being lowered. So I only say masculinity is toxic if it lowers your frequency, because the masculine is designed to lead. It's designed to raise the frequencies of those around them to provide them with a better lifestyle, a better frequency, etc. So that's how you know if your masculinity is healthy. The followers, the feminines that are under you, that are following you, they are expanding, they are thriving, they are healthy, they are satisfied. So that's how you can rank whether your masculinity is healthy or whether your masculinity is more so the toxic.
Okay, got that. Now, some men are more feminine than other men. How does that play out? And they're maybe as a package healthy, and whereas the more men carrying more masculine energy are also healthy. But there's not one point on the spectrum where say 80% all healthy masculine, and with the women under them flourishing are at say 80%, 20%. How does that play out?
You said there are feminine men who are healthy.
Well, I said that have got more feminine energy than some other men. Like not all. Like how do you see yourself as the masculine feminine balance percentage at the moment? Who you are at the moment?
Okay, so me, I would say when it comes to my divine masculinity, I would say I'm 100% in my masculinity. I would say when it comes to providing and protecting and leading. Now, this is often something that is misunderstood. When you're single, when you're by yourself or whatnot, I say, okay, you can do your little 50-50 thing or whatnot. Yet when you become in a relationship, you have to accept and embody one particular polarity, which means you have to embody that polarity completely in order for the relationship to work. It won't work if you're swinging back and forth between your feminine and masculine. Okay, I'm going to provide 100%. All right, now you're going to provide 100%. Oh, I'm going to provide 50. Now you're going to provide 50 or whatnot. That only sounds good when you type it, because many people will be like, oh, well, we all have masculine and feminine. That is correct or whatnot. The masculine is surrendering to the universe. The feminine surrenders to the masculine. And in essence, she's surrendering to the universe, but through the masculine, because she understands that there has to be a leader. There has to be a leader for there to be a follower. There has to be the masculine for there to be the feminine, and vice versa. So this is why I say I embody 100% of the masculine, especially in the relationship, that particular polarity, and that's how I'm able to have a healthy relationship. Now, if you don't really desire a relationship, then yes, you can do whatever. If you don't really desire a family, you can do whatever. But if you want to have the healthy dynamic as a man, you have to embody that masculine polarity completely.
Okay, so where does the heart come into it, and creativity? That's more feminine energy, right?
So the heart and creativity, all this stuff that empowers the feminine also empowers the masculine. Because behind the masculine there is the feminine. That's why they say behind every great man there's a woman or whatnot. That feminine energy, which is also sexual energy, is within that man, and he's cultivated and uses it to empower himself. So that heart energy, that sexual energy, is essentially feminine energy. And that feminine energy is going to activate all the chakras. And that in turn empowers the masculinity even more. In the feminine, once it goes up the chakras, it empowers the femininity even more.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Trying to get my head around, because there are men who use their creative side, and but so I would see that as a feminine energy, but maybe I just need to re-listen and understand it a bit better.
Yeah, so essentially it's the outcome of what the energy is, because I create knowledge, I create memes or whatnot, which is creativity or whatnot. But what is the outcome for that creativity? Is it to lead? So that outcome is to lead. So all my creativity, everything that I'm doing is cultivating and focused on the masculinity. Even though it's still embodying creativity, there's still heart in it. It's still the outcome is focused on masculinity. Now, with the feminine, when she's creating, she's not creating to lead. She's not creating to really, be able to provide or whatnot, even though she can do that, and that can be a byproduct. But her focus is to create, solely to express herself and release her energy. She doesn't really desire to be a leader as much. She doesn't really desire to be the one in charge, etc.
Yeah, definitely. Very makes perfect sense now. Thank you. Wow, what an amazing interview. So much information you provided. Thank you, Davonte, so much. Have you got one final message to men that are maybe struggling at the moment on their path in that deepest, darkest moment? What would you say to those men?
I would tell those men that, I've been in the same place as you, and I've reached a certain level to where I'm at now. So this should inspire you to be able to know that it is possible, that don't give up, that yes, this world was cultivated to destroy masculinity. Yet if you can restore it and you can go through that particular difficult process, then the rewards outweigh all the negatives that you will be able to go through.
Beautiful message. Thank you once again. So much fun talking to you. And as I said, you're just so knowledgeable about this stuff. And it's a subject that I absolutely love. And, you clarified a lot for me. Also sort of validated a lot of my own thoughts. And I learned a lot of new stuff too. So thank you so much, Davonte.
You're beyond welcome. And thank you so much, Gemma, for allowing me to be on this Heart Warrior show. I appreciate you deeply.
Oh, thank you so much. Everyone, if you could like, share, subscribe, be sure to check out Davonte's social media, and I'll see you soon for another episode of Heart Warriors. Could you stay on, please, Davonte?